Is it crunching me like as much as it was before? I had Bridget shut off her computer and a couple other things.
Hang on for a second. Yeah, you're actually live, so.
Oh, okay.
Hang on. Hi there. I hit cut again. I did that on Thursday. I was supposed to fade out, and I cut out the music. Oi, oi, oi. Hey, welcome. It's the live AV Tech podcast. I actually have to look at my graphics in order to remember what the name of the show is. Today's going to be a very interesting evening. We're going to have a lot of fun and meet a very important person in the business. But the first thing on the agenda is introducing our panel. So let me hit the correct button here to unmute those crazy guys. Hey guys, how you doing?
Buttons.
Good.
Okay, let me get. Oh, I gotta do that over here. Hey, how you doing?
Hey.
Hello. Howdy.
So, I gotta clear that off too. Boink. So, to my right, is that my right? It's my stage right. My audience left is Brandon Lear, a video guy out of the Dallas area. How you doing, Brandon?
I'm good. I'm making it.
And then right below him is Mark Milan, a producer down here in Dallas.
In Texas.
Down right next to him, that's Troy Bacheski. How you doing, Troy? And to my left, my right left is Eddie Welsh, audio guy and producer here in Dallas as well.
Howdy.
Everybody's kind of in the Dallas area. So,
here.
how's everybody doing?
Good.
Great. Yeah, doing great, man.
So, what's everybody doing? Are you guys kind of planning for or getting into the virtual meeting stuff? Have you been working that way, or are people dragging you that way, or what's going on?
I think dragon's the right word. I think we don't really have a choice. We just kind of have to adapt and start looking at that space, because that's really the only thing available to us for the rest of this year, at least.
Can I say, does anybody have a very optimistic view, and then I'll come across with my very pessimistic one?
I have a very optimistic view, in that humans forever have adapted and changed to fit the environment. So whatever the new paradigm looks like, we'll find a way to be there and be supportive, because there'll always be that audience that doesn't want to mess with the stuff that we mess with. And there needs to be that level of production, that level of value that they're portraying to their clients, whether it be their own employees or outside clients. There's always going to be a need for that they can't handle internally.
Exactly.
Optimistic.
That's good.
What's your pessimistic view?
My complete opposite pessimistic view of that is, if everything sort of goes to this norm I'm seeing now, where it's kind of going Zoom call based, and that's what they're willing to accept because that's what it has to be at the moment, it kind of cuts out a need for a lot of the high-end technicians filling roles like we did. So you'll have a lot of us that will either starve off or have to branch off to different avenues of income, probably different career fields altogether. So I've been doing a lot of looking externally, because for myself especially, I was doing high-end spider shows, which I think will probably be the last thing to come back when shows finally start coming back, will be those bigger sort of things. So yeah, I'm starting to fresh up on some other skills outside of the industry. Maybe I'm wrong. I hope I'm wrong. If I'm wrong and, a month from now, everything comes back and the shows are there, great. I'll start working again. But
Super. Yeah.
yeah, but I don't, right now I'm afraid that I cannot survive just on that hope. So I've got to make my own parachute, so to speak.
Yep. You got to adjust for the future, make some moves, and hedge your bets, as it were.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I'm gonna let these guys hang out for a little bit. I gotta mute their feed so they don't cause us any problems. Okay, now you can't hear them anymore. I muted them, and I'm going to kick them off the screen too, right like that. Nope. Oh, I got to do it here. Hosting and being the video guy and the audio guy, that's not all that fun. Okay. Our guest today is a very special one. We're going to be talking with Shawn Rockefeller. Shawn is the former owner and founder of Data Display AV in Houston, Texas. Shawn moved to Houston from New Jersey in the late 70s and started working for Astro AV. Anybody remember Astro AV? He soon after partnered up with his friend Colin Lowen, hope I'm pronouncing that right, and started DDAV. Over 27 years, they developed the business into a thriving provider with offices in both Exxon and Enron's world headquarters and work gigs all over the globe. They sold the business in 2016 to GES, and after 2 years of managing the transition to on services, Shawn retired to his ranch in Central Texas, where he keeps bees and chickens. And we might meet one. He was saying the rooster might be coming around the corner. He also keeps his eyes over the fence at the AV industry. Shawn, how are you? Welcome.
Great.
I had to put my mic in here. Wirecast is fun with audio. So it's the early 80s. You and Colin start this business. What did the industry look like back then? What was the predominant technology that you guys were playing with?
Oh, yes, you're going way back. So we actually started Data Display in 1988. And before that, Colin and I worked at Astro Audiovisual together. And back then, the main business was multi-image slideshows, sound, obviously slide projectors, 16 millimeter projectors, and film strip projectors. And so it was low ticket items. And that's about it. I mean, it was just that's the way the industry was, And then came the amazing LCD panels to put on top of an overhead, so you can display computer graphics. And we said, there's something to this, And also renting camcorders to people who would most of the time steal them.
Was there a lot of difference in the client base? How did the clients differ back then than they do now?
Well, I remember we used to rent a lot of 16 millimeter projectors to the United Way when they had their campaigns, and the people would come to our office at Astro, pick up a 16 millimeter projector, and we'd have to show them how to thread the projector and do that and all. And during that time frame, then we started getting into the Exxon headquarters downtown Houston and doing the AV in there. And that was where we started building up there.
Okay. So you guys ended up doing a lot of oil and gas, obviously. Exxon, Enron, Halliburton, those fun guys. how is the oil and gas industry different than some of the other clients? I've noticed a lot of difference when I was working some of your gigs. Things were certainly different than I'm normally used to.
Really?
Well,
It's the one main thing with the oil and gas business is business is dictated by the price of a barrel of oil. So when things are thriving and oil is $100 a barrel, it's I could sell you a Ferris wheel to put in your booth. But when the price goes down and there's a collapse in the price, then everybody thinks differently. And that's where we would when things got bad, we'd offer deals to our customers and say, we know oil is going to come back up, and when it does, then we'll be able to charge you full price. And and you built a loyalty base based on that. I don't think the business is much different than any other business. All customers are interesting and have demands, and they're the same. But it's just the business is based on the price of the barrel of oil. So you could sell a lot of stuff when the price is high, and you have to make deals when the price is low.
So I'm trying to change something here. So you had an interesting time at the end of Enron. You apparently had to testify, I believe. Are you hearing me?
Yeah. It was we had our office. Yeah, I got you. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Got me, Mick?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay. We had an office in the Exxon World headquarters downtown Houston for years. During Valdez and all that, and then one of the guys from Enron, when they were starting up, came over and said, "Hey, can you come over and talk to us?" And talked to him. We got an office in the basement, of course, the Enron building, and through all the years, we would do all the corporate shows for Enron and go up to the 50th floor, do all Ken Lay's stuff and skilling stuff, and travel with them on safety meetings and do their shareholders meetings. So we were doing several shareholders meetings where we were told in the comms not to play certain videotapes, based on what was going on. It was really odd because you'd be doing this meeting and they would call a break, and everybody and the stockbrokers would run outside and say, bye, 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 bye. And of course, we did that ourselves, called my dad and said, buy Enron stock. And we actually, towards the end, we actually pulled out of the Enron building because they only let us keep 2 employees in there. And it was overwhelming. The work was overwhelming. And the girl that was running it, I'll leave her name out, she said, no, we couldn't hire anybody else. And we just said, we're going to look bad. And we pulled out, and then went back there like 3 months later because I still did business with some of the people there. And I think it was PSAV was in there, and they had 6 employees. So it was just really creepy. And then things took off. And then what happened is I got a phone call from the FBI and said, we need to come in and interview you.
That's always a fun call.
And then, I thought it was a joke. I thought it was some of my friends messing with me. And, I don't want to go screw off, and then a day later, the next call was Enron's legal team wanting to come and talk to me. So I had to testify in federal court in the broadband trial. It was interesting. Very interesting.
So what's it like getting bought out by a gigantic company like GES? I mean, you've worked a long time and you've built this business. How did it affect you? Did you feel weird about it?
Yeah, well, Colin and I had talked about it. We talked about, at some point we're going to sell this thing, and had a good time. And we had several suitors. We had four actually at one point, and had to make a decision. Um, and we went with On Services division of GES. And another deal that was going to come through, I don't know if I should mention it. We were all set. We signed on with them, and then financing fell out. But we signed on with GES, and it's really awkward. I mean, I can tell you, I broke my hand in the process, punching a wall in frustration, because when you go from being me and Colin making all the decisions, and if I wanted to buy gear, I'd wrestle Colin, and then you go to a large company where basically you have bean counters making decisions about AV. Wasn't my bag. And so I was supposed to stay on for 5 years. I bowed out after 2.5, 3. I just no thanks. That's not, I mean, that's great. I mean, that's good for some people. It's a great thing. But after 27 years of doing it yourself, and then listening to somebody tell you how they think things should be, and they have no background on the AV industry, it's frustrating.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
How did it affect your family? I mean, there's always got to be a little conflict in there, and when, especially when you're feeling down, the family feels down, right?
Yeah. Well, punching walls and stuff, that it kind of translated into, I'm not anybody, but yeah, you can tell I was frustrated. I mean, and Bridget worked for me, my wife, and so yeah, she was tired of it too, and
yeah,
but it was time to go, and we made the right move.
And you still participate in some of the gigs, right?
Right, like on our Halliburton gigs, they say that they want me on it, and a couple other clients, and go in there, and I freelance for On Services on those gigs, and it's pretty cool because you get to see from aspect of running a company, and then seeing the other angle of being a freelancer now, like you guys do. You get to see that other part of it, which was good, and I had several other gigs lined up, and of course, not now they're not happening, but we shall see. Let's see.
So, retirement. I personally don't know if I'm ever going to be able to experience it. Tell us what that's like. I mean,
well,
growing bees.
I call it the semi-retirement. Doing those other gigs. I'd still be doing other gigs. Hell, we would have been on a gig a week ago with KPMG, if not for this. But in the beginning, it's really crazy. I felt guilty. I just, there was this huge guilt on me that I'm not doing something. And so the good thing is being out here in the hill country, I've got 10 acres and the river in the backyard. I have no lack of projects to do stuff. So that helped me, keep my mind off that. But I think it took about 9 months of feeling guilty about not working, and and your employees are your family. So, they would call me up and complain about stuff, and you get this guilt that you're letting these kids down, and it's hard, and it's just because you're their dad, and you travel the world with these guys, and you're a family, and just it's almost like divorcing them, but we're not divorcing because I keep in contact with all of them now still. So. But yeah, it's tough, but it's good. Okay, so I don't mean to get the downer side on it. It's awesome. It's awesome, but I'm bored.
What, mending fences isn't good enough?
Doing my garden, landscaping, extracting honey the last couple of days. I got honey all over my hands.
Yeah, you were
Which is a
telling me
good
that.
thing.
Big
Yeah,
bucket of honey, huh?
Big bucket of honey, and I got to go get some more.
That's pretty crazy stuff. So how did you resolve that guilt? Were you able to just internally say, hey, this is the way I am now, or how did you resolve that, or have you?
I don't think I don't think I have 100% got over it. I do have some friends out here that retired like a couple of years before me, and they went through the same thing. And I was talking to them about it, and they said, yeah, one of my friends is worked for the aerospace, or not the airplane, whatever, and he would investigate accident sites for airplane crashes. And he retired. And he said he did the same thing. It took him a year. He felt guilty, and he's like, once you get over it, you'll be happy. So, I'm not over it, and I still want to do stuff.
Yeah.
It's I pace. I got to keep moving. That's it. I got to keep moving. I got to do something. Something's got to happen.
And it's that energy that made you a success in the first place, right?
Yeah, I guess it's not hyper, but something's got to, every day when I go, I got to really look down and say, what did I do today? It was.
You got to break something so you can fix it.
Oh yeah. I've broken a lot of things. But as I got older, I broke less things, except my hand.
So, in your view, from the outside now, notwithstanding the pandemic or any of that stuff, let's just pretend for a second that's not going on. But what do you think the industry is going to look like from a technical and from a client standpoint? What do you think? Where do you think the business is moving?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because I got a crystal ball.
Yeah. Do I need to give you $25?
Yeah. I have no friggin' idea. I was thinking, because I lay in bed at 4 o'clock in the morning, like probably most of you guys do, and think of things, what to do, what I can do. I just think, I generally think that people, how Americans are, they tend to forget after a while.
Yeah.
And I think come next year, a lot of people are just going to forget this whole nonsense. Not nonsense. It's not nonsense. And go back to normal. But if they are doing conferences and stuff, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe companies are going to get in and rent, thermal scanners for meetings. Take over everything for the meeting. So you got people coming into your conference, and you're renting them the thermal scanner for people to come in and just do the whole kit and caboodle. Besides the AV. Just so you can make it feel safe for people to hold a meeting and come to the meeting, and you do everything. So I thought about that the other day.
And safety.
Yeah. Because you got things are different. Like I said to you earlier, is basically the world got an enema, and we're cleansing now, and everybody's going to be in. It's going to come back, But I just in general think that people forget, and they're going to go back to their normal thing, and God forbid anything comes back. But That's my thoughts.
And what do you think? What's that crystal ball say about a timeline?
Timeline. I think everybody's. Who I was talking to Stan in Atlanta like 2-3 weeks ago, and he says there's 3 conventions slated for August and September in Vegas. Now, I didn't research it and ask him which ones they were, but that would be interesting to see how that goes. If that's true, and how it happens, that would be really interesting. But I think just kind of like concerts or a lot of the tours, everybody's just revamping for 2021.
Right.
So I think I don't know. Our business is kind of in the same genre, going to follow. But that's what I'm seeing on all those shows, except for the small venues. They're going to open up, and we'll watch how that goes. So.
Yeah, our guest on Thursday, he was talking about the Republican National Convention, and Trump is demanding that there's going to be 50,000 people at this convention, and if they do that, then why can't we have a concert or a trade show or a
Yeah, and if North Carolina doesn't do it, he's going to move it to Texas or Georgia or Florida, he said.
Texas would be a good choice, don't you think?
Yeah. Why not? Have it here in Fisher, Texas. At the ranch here, yeah. No, thank you.
Well,
not the Republican.
Not enough hotel rooms there anyway.
Camping.
Yeah.
Glamping, call it.
Ooh, turn the thing into a Willie Nelson picnic.
Exactly. That's a great idea. Wow, I think you're onto something there. Really come out?
Yeah, I bet he would. Bring that old beat-up guitar with him, too.
Yeah. I like that idea. I think I'm going to do that.
So, if you did decide, to dabble in AV, I mean, what kind of business would you want to build? Not that you're gonna, but if you did, what kind of business would you want to build?
Exactly what we were doing.
Well, you were obviously doing something right.
We like to think that, yeah. My son's got a production company in Austin, Originator Studios, and they're trying to do some virtual meetings, and we're talking about putting an LED wall, like they're doing for the Star Wars movies now in the background. Make do that.
Gotta do something with those LED walls.
Yeah, I know. I got some of my pavilion over there. I got to put up my new barn and just looking at myself. That'd be really cool. But
keep the chickens entertained.
I think the same thing. I think the same thing. We're going to see what happens. Like I said, I'm just going to sit on the fence and watch the landscape change, because the landscape's going to totally change.
Yeah.
And who knows how it's going to come out. But, like I said, when we were at Data Display, Colin and I, we ramped up when things were down. So, when we hit, 2008, 2009, when we started Data Display, it was right after 87. After that debacle, when things were down then, we started up the business when things were down. And it always seemed investing in a product or ramping up what we were doing, it was always during a downturn, and that always seemed to work well. And I think now, if you were to start an AV company, this would be the time to get your ducks in a row, and so be the first out of the gate.
Yeah. Well, I certainly don't have my ducks in a row for that, but could get my chickens in a row. I'm gonna go ahead and bring the panel in at this point. I got to turn on their audio, and then I'm gonna do the 2-shot, and then I'm gonna bring those guys into the 2-shot. Hey, there's everybody right now.
Hey.
So, Shawn, you know Brandon. I think you know Troy.
Hey, what's going on, Shawn?
So, guys, what do you think? You have any questions for this gentleman?
Oh, gentlemen.
Well, Shawn, I was just thinking, I know you were getting bored after retirement, but looking back at it all now, do you feel like you got out like exactly at the right time? Because everything just sort of went to hell right after.
We lucked out. It's I'm not a gambler. If I go to a casino, I'm not going to gamble, but I seem to gamble better on business. So, but yeah, we got out at the right time. I mean, I really feel, hopefully a bunch of my RSN buddies, Journal Changing Network buddies are on this, is, I feel so bad for them to have to deal with that whole situation that we didn't have to deal with, to furlough guys and do that. I mean, I lose sleep thinking about it, I feel, if that weight was on my shoulders, and I still feel guilty about it, it's not mine. That'd be tough, but yeah, we lucked out. So
That is hard. I had to let myself go. It's been difficult for me.
Yourself.
Yeah, when you're self-employed, generally your boss is a real asshole.
Yeah.
Well, I had a question there about not so much what you're doing in retirement, although I've got a couple of questions there as well. But you said you sold the company to what I guess became On Services, right?
Right.
But that there were multiple suitors at that time. I think you said 4, maybe.
Yes, 4.
Just kind of wondering what made you go the direction that you did? Was it just the most money, or were there other factors to be considered in there? Why did you go with that particular sale, I guess?
Well, our first choice, I don't know if I'm allowed to say it, but it was a large company on the East Coast, and we signed on, and we liked those guys a lot, and we thought it was going to be a good mix. So they did a lot of trade shows, and then financing or whatever, something came out, and then our second choice was On Services, and they were a big company. They're owned by GES, so and we had lack of words, we had to meet certain requirements to get our full pay, and and we lucked out because the market was starting to tank. Oil and gas market was starting to tank, and we barely made our amount of money we had to make to get our full payout. And we did, but yeah, it was because 2 of them were smaller entities, and then On being GES. And I'll say I thought it was going to be cool to see the other side of business on a big company. GES being like a Freeman. I wanted to see what it would be like. I didn't like it.
Yeah, you mentioned it was wall-poundingly frustrating, I think, right?
It's the red tape. When you got just your partner and that making decisions, and your employees, bouncing it off them, it was cool and it was easy. And when you have to go into all these meetings and say, and I'm like, if I buy this product, I guarantee you I can make the money back and be in the black within a year. And me and Colin, we sort of said, if we buy something, high dollar item, when we got into microtiles, early, and that took off. And then we were doing the multi-taction, we bought into that. And if I would always, wrestle with my partner, said, I know I can pay this off. I have some boat anchors in the warehouse. Probably back to
know that feeling.
Everybody. But yeah, going through there, and trying to tell an accountant what's good and what's going to take, what's going to happen. They don't know anything. They just look at the bottom line, and they have somebody that doesn't have any experience in the AV industry telling you what you can and can't do. That's about it.
Yeah, seems like that would be very frustrating.
Yeah, it was the earn out that we're trying to make, at the end. So we made the earn out by our skinny teeth. Thank God.
And I'll put this out there for you guys, since a lot of you don't know Shawn personally and his group. We all can kind of get the idea that a big company would be really frustrating with the bureaucracy to work for, but I know when I started doing shows with Shawn and them, it was crazy. It was like the rock and roll of corporate. I mean, we were doing large corporate shows, but it wasn't like any of the other AV companies you've probably ever worked for. I mean, these guys were super cool. I know the first couple of shows I did, they would drop off just buckets of beer behind our positions. And be like, here you go. And I'm like,
I'm in
right now. Yeah. Yeah. And they're like, oh, that's cool. Go ahead. I thought it was a trap. But these guys were just like,
don't drink it.
Yeah, everybody hung out. Everybody had a good time. It was very one of the lead guys that's there now even's got a beard that must be 5 feet long. I don't know. It's nuts. But just a super fun, wacky group. I know Mickey here got to experience the Malork at the end of one of the recent shows, which is just a wonderful tradition that these guys have.
One of the greatest traditions ever.
Yeah, that was about that. It's Willie's, my son's company, does a lot of the video at the big shows, and they brought that in. So during the show, when we do, if whoever made a mistake, missed call, whatever, late cue, we'd all yell in the comms, Malort. And there's this awful liquor I guess you could call it. And at the end of the show, we go into this room, and everybody has to take a shot if they got a Malort, if they had Q or whatever.
Nice.
And drink everybody.
Client, crew, everybody comes together, and it's a cleansing moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody pays for minutes.
Well, it's a confessional too. You go into the room and you say, I missed this cue.
Mm-hmm.
And
we're all human.
Yeah.
And nobody knows the show because
this mindset, and then having to go into a big company.
Did you notice an increase of people missing cues on purpose over this tradition?
You should try this Malort.
Yeah. Actually, it would probably kept us on our game better because this stuff tasted like shit. Poo-poo.
That's not that good of stuff.
As a condom dipped in gasoline on fire.
Yeah. That's what the manufacturer said it was.
That's yeah,
but you're a real man if you drink it.
Anyway, I say all that to further illustrate how frustrating it would be to go from such a cool kind of rock and roll AV lifestyle into the more structured bureaucratic red tape. I knew instantly when you guys made that purchase. The first thing that thought in my head was, "Oh, this is going to be rough for Shawn. This is going to be a hard way of life change." I think, but I think it all worked out for the better.
It did. It did.
What makes you say, okay, at this point in the business, I think we should sell? How does that work?
That's a damn good question. You know, we had Tom Stimson come in, evaluate our business, talk to him about stuff, and talk to some other guys in the industry. And you know, we were just looking for the right time. Neither me nor Colin had. My son had his production company. He didn't want anything to do with. He watched what I did when he was growing up. He didn't want anything about trade shows and travel like that. And my daughters didn't want it, and Colin's daughters didn't want any part of it. So we said, well, we're not going to pass it on to our kids. So the best thing would be to sell and then do whatever. And we did right.
Cool. Mark's got his hand up.
Shawn, Mark, nice to meet you. I would kind of like to hear a little bit more about your process of starting the company. In this industry, we're all sort of built around independent contractors. There's two people that I know for sure. I'm not sure about Brandon's side of the business, but I know like Mickey and Eddie, they're both independent contractors, but they started their own production company to rent gear and start these productions. And there's so many people in this industry that try to do that end up just failing because of maybe not understanding the business side of it, or if you could just talk a little bit about what it was for you that you were able to build a successful business in this industry and set yourself apart from a lot of the other people out there trying to do the same thing.
When we started, Colin and I worked at Astro Audiovisual, and we got tired of busting our ass and watching the owner of the company that we did was taking everything that we made and funneling it into a movie rental company, because that was big back then. And I said one day to Colin, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. We're starting our own AV company. And he said, okay, I'm in. And we started. And then we looked at all that, and how it says most businesses fail in the first 5 years. And so, but we were just pretty much at our wits' end. We just said, we're going for broke. We're going to do it. But we had our best thing that we had is we had our customer at Exxon that said, if you guys please start your own company. If you do that, you'll get the Exxon account. So we had that in our back pocket. So, that was our bread and butter to build on. And so, not everybody gets that break where you've got a backbone to start from, where, you have an office in the Exxon building and constant daily business, and build on that. And so we were lucky, it's loyalty, taking care of your customer at any time. I'm thinking too, back then we didn't have cell phones. We had pagers. We had, think about back then, I get a page and I have to stop at a payphone to call into the shop, if somebody was adding something, and back then. So there was a whole different world back then. But yeah, it was just busting ass and just taking care of our customers, and it's the only way to do it. Pretty simple.
Yeah, so you're saying lucky. You're saying like busting ass taking care of the customer. That may seem easy to you, but that may be sort of difficult to others. I know a lot of people have started their own business off of having that one customer. It's like, oh, I got this one person. They said that we're going to be that person, and we're good. But then they have like 3 shows in a row that just go to hell, and that client's gone. So now they have all this gear that they bought, all this stuff. So there's something more to it with your relationship. So with Exxon specifically, is it just who you are as a person? What is it that's that special sauce?
I don't know. I guess it's, A-type, we never had a salesperson ever. Everything we got was from word of mouth. So somebody would come and say, oh, these guys took care of us, call them. I mean, we never did any cold calling or anything like that, and when we had an office in the basement of Exxon, and one day this guy, Rich Wheeler, he was a geologist, and he says, "Hey, I'm working on this trial. Think you can come up and talk to me and talk about doing stuff in this trial?" And it was the Exxon Valdez trial. And from there, we sold all the gear and sold all the gear in Anchorage in the federal and civil trial. And it was the first trial ever where all the documents were scanned instead of paper. And then from that, we started doing all bigger trials around the country, just based on that. So just things would one thing would lead to another, another door opened in this, so the whole trial industry opened for us based on the Valdez trials. And trials were a big business. I mean, we went all over the country. Hell, did a trial in St. John's, and that went away. And just you have to go on to the next, because then courtrooms just outfitted themselves anyway. And we did the Dallas courtrooms years ago. Mahaffey's in Oklahoma. God, I forgot that guy's name. But downtown Dallas, we outfitted 2 courtrooms there for a big trial that eventually settled after we installed everything.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. But it was just things just go on.
All right. Well, we might be ending a little early, but that's okay too. Shawn, I really, really appreciate you doing this, spending some time.
Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Trust me. So thank you, Shawn. I'm going to close this thing out and put everybody to bed. Let me see if I can make my thing work here. Oh, I got to do this.
Just tell everybody to think positive.
Think positive.
It's all going to be good.
Yeah.
And seriously, it's all going to be good.
Nice meeting and talking with you, Shawn.
Nice to meet you, Shawn.
I'll see you guys on the show somewhere.
Thank you, Shawn. Thank you, guys.
All right, guys.
Thank you, mate.
All right. Well, there's our second show. Still a little clumsy, but it was all right. Shawn's a good guy.
Good.
So I gotta mute those guys. Next week is gonna be an interesting week. Thursday, 7:00. It's gonna be Mark Lee is gonna be our guest, but in a slight change of format, the host is actually gonna be Mr. Mark Moulin. So Mark's gonna be doing the interview. He's going to be hosting the show. I will still be here running the technology, so there'll be a lot of less of wait while I hit this button. But it'll be a great time. Thursday, 7:00 on this YouTube channel. Hit the subscribe button. There's a little thing down there for the notification. Hit that too. That's going to get you all you need to know about next week's show. I'll be sending out stuff on Facebook and blah, blah, blah. I won't leave you alone. But be back here Thursday, 7:00. And you guys have a nice evening. I'm going to play the closing music. See if I hit it right. Good night, everybody.